Thank you for joining For Our Special Kids, where we openly and honestly discuss the magic and the mess of raising a child with special needs. We are thrilled to have you here and hope this time provides you with some wonder and wisdom. I'm your host, Jennifer Lansing. Let's get started. In today's episode, Alexis McGlynn and I give you a sneak peek into our future intentional and intuitive parenting course. We discuss the surprise and shock of having a child that doesn't initially meet our expectations and how that can cause grief and anger and even depression. She then goes into how acceptance doesn't have to mean loving your situation, but it does mean that you're willing to let it be and to go on living. Alexis gives us examples of her gratitude practice, which I love, and lets us in on how it allowed her to create unconditional love and positive regard for herself, which then that love rolls right into her children and into her family. This conversation was deep and heartfelt, and I certainly hope you enjoy it. As always, let me know what you think. I am here with Alexis McGlynn, and I'm so excited to introduce you to her. She is a mom of 3 beautiful children, Grace, Lila, and Cece. She's a wife, a holistic entrepreneur, and founder of Alexis McGlynn Hypnosis. She's the creator of Project Love International and is a certified master hypnotist. Now, I also know you do so many other things, Alexis, so this bio is just really, really short and sweet, but I'm excited to talk with you because you have so many things to share with our community of listeners. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, I'm so glad to be here.
Alexis and I met at a mentorship program. It was an online mentorship program last year with Denise Corral. And I think both of us walked away with some newfound inspiration and direction for things that we're doing. And that kind of led us to our relationship and developing what we are about to launch in a few months, which is a parenting program. So Alexis and I are working on an intuitive and intentional parenting program for you. And it'll be a hybrid program where some of it's online, some of it's face to face on Zoom. And then eventually we might get together and do a face to face because that would be so much fun. Anywho, I'm going to back up from there just to kind of dangle that carrot that we're working on that program. So get excited there. But you have so much experience, one with children of your own that have their individual needs. You also have worked and created programs for special needs children with your partner. Would you mind talking with us a little bit about that?
Of course, absolutely. So the reason that I kind of made my way into the wellness world is because I do have kids with special needs. And I was looking for complementary resources and services for them. And I began my journey with yoga and mindfulness for children. I started out by just doing some of that work with them one-on-one. And then I went and got certified as a yoga kids instructor. I also went and did some research in Baltimore with the Holistic Life Foundation, which puts programs in schools, many of which are at risk. And they teach the children how to do yoga and use mindfulness concepts to take care of themselves. So the idea is that if you take care of your inner world, your outer world can take care of itself. I wound up creating a program called Wise and Well in conjunction with a dear friend of mine, where we went into a school in Savannah and we taught the kids how to do sequences of asanas and a little bit of breath work. And then we talked about mindfulness concepts.
What were some of the biggest takeaways that you had from that interaction with those children?
Yeah, so that interaction with kids really taught me that while we use our bodies to prepare for Shavasana, the Shavasana is actually magical.
So tell me what a Shavasana is for those individuals that aren't familiar with yoga.
Of course, after you're done doing poses, you lie down on your mat and you rest quietly, sometimes just for a moment and sometimes for longer. That moment of peace that you've created by moving your body to prepare it to be restful was what began to catch my interest in a really significant way and led me to the next step in my career path. Yeah.
It's Shavasana is basically, the death pose, right? Isn't that what it's referenced
Mhm.
as? Where you
Corpse.
just
Corpse. Yeah.
corpse pose. Thank you. I adore that moment after physical exertion, finding the emptiness.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful space. And so you worked with these children. I think about Teal and how almost impossible I think it would be to get her at a 6-year-old to lay in corpse pose and be still. But I bet she would if it was in a right setting.
Well, they take to it in ways that you can't even anticipate. They're very open to trying anything. And so they're receptive.
Oh, very cool. Well, I want you to do that with Teal. Actually, Teal's teacher, Mrs. Anderson, they start every morning with breath work and yoga.
Yeah, it's become so much more prevalent. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful way to start the day or end the day or have a break.
Yesterday, we were having a bad morning. Just it was basically me, and then she just mirrored it back to me. You know how kids are so good at that, right? Uh,
Sure.
but I said to her, and I did it with her. I said, "Okay, let's take a deep breath." I know what they do in school. They raise their arms and they breathe down, and so we did it together, and it's powerful. So we might have to bring you back and just talk about that.
If you want just a quick tip,
Oh
there's
yeah.
up the mountain, down the mountain, up the mountain with your breath.
Oh right. Okay. So tell people what you're doing with your hand because
Great.
they can't see
I'm
you.
tracing my finger up my thumb and down my thumb, leading toward my first finger and then down towards my middle finger and then up and down again towards the ring finger and up and down again towards your pinky. With each and every kind of motion, you're using your breath to breathe in and then to breathe out as you go down in between the
Mm.
fingers.
And what a great way to also bring in counting. I mean, right? There's
Mhm.
all of that. Oh,
Sure.
totally
Yeah.
stealing that. Teal's going to be like, yes, let's do it. Mountain breathing. I love it. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right. So you mentioned that experience kind of springboarded you into the current life that you're living. And on your website, it does say that you're living a very purposeful life. And
Mhm.
I really enjoy that. I think all of us should be or can be more purposeful. So tell
Mhm.
me how that is creating your reality now. And then you can also tell us a little bit about the word that you chose this year because I kind of cut you off earlier when we were in our pre-recorded conversation. I was like, "Oh, what's your word this year?" So you mentioned that it's completion.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm imagining that kind of worked with your purposeful life.
Okay. So let's see. Purposefully, I guess for me, what that means is that after living, the different experiences that I've been through as a mom, as a woman, as, all the different roles that I play, I have chosen the path that I'd like to be on, and that is intentional. So, what does that mean to me? That means that the focus of all of my work has always been on creating a nurturing environment for my children and whatever it took to make that happen. I have turned that into what I do for a living, but at the root of it, it's my core value and my intention to create that for my own children that has led me here. Does that make sense and answer the
Yeah,
question?
it
Okay.
does.
So for my word of the year, so I'm not huge on doing New Year's resolutions. I prefer to sort of just hone in on something that I think would be of benefit for me to think of and kind of work toward. I chose completion because I have a couple of projects. Our parenting class is one of them that I would really like to launch and sort of bring into fruition. And that's really why I chose that word.
Yeah, I like it. Might have to snag onto your completion because we're launching that. We're launching that course for sure quite soon. I mean, we're in development. All right. So you mentioned that one of your roles is being a mom. And
Mhm.
as we all know how important that is. I mean, I talk very openly about how, yes, becoming a mom changes your world, but then having a child or many children or with
Mhm.
special needs can it just flips it on its head, right? You might have taken a 180 when you became a mom, but then all of a sudden you're turned upside down on your head. You get shaken up a bit, and it's rough and it can be tricky. And there is the surprise and the shock when you get a diagnosis or you even realize that your life is not what you thought it would be. Let's talk a little bit about the expectations and how that can be processed through?
For me, my expectations were that I would do things differently than the family that I had come from, and that it was just going to be sort of this magical thing that just fell into place because of who I was and what I thought I would get. And that's not reality. So that initial adjustment, it does take time. And the biggest piece of that, like you said, is your expectations of what should have or could have been. It does require some inner work to get through that and to a place of, not only acceptance, but joy with what is. Our expectations can really let us down.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to make that adjustment. But once I did, and once I worked through the challenges that came with that, the grief and all of the stages that go with it, the other side was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. We were talking, was it just yesterday about the course or 2 days ago about the course, and I started crying. We were talking about grief and how, your children, how old are your children?
Soon to be 21, soon to be 17 and 15.
Okay. And I have a 6-year-old. And so your journey, you've had more time. And
A lot more.
I openly said, I'm still grieving at times. I still cry. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I even mentioned that I think there's a moment in your journey where you just say, it's okay to still have grief. It's okay to want those expectations, but then it's also okay to honor the beauty and the magic of what has been created because you didn't have what you thought you wanted, right? That expectation didn't come into fruition. And then I look back and think, my world is completely different, but 1,000 times better because I didn't get what I thought I wanted. Because I didn't get this neurotypical, easy peasy ski team, straight A student, Division I athlete person. And there's beauty in that. And just realizing I wouldn't be doing this podcast. I never would have met you. I never would have gone into that mentorship program with Denise. I never would have started listening to Enlightened Empaths and all of these things. And so letting go, I think you mentioned some of that acceptance and just realizing like, man, I accept this now wholeheartedly into my heart. And there's beauty there because the unexpected is so much more joyful than what I had planned in my head.
Absolutely. I mean, the unexpected is the reality of what everybody gets. And finding the beauty and joy and the gratitude that you can have for it is what creates that appreciation for what is.
Right. And you mentioned, you wrote me some information. You said grief is so personal. It comes in waves, and the only way to move through it is to head straight into it. By not avoiding it, you allow yourself to heal and move towards acceptance. Yes. I think that's just beautifully written.
Yeah. Well, that was my experience with grief and what I found to be true. I needed to honor the moments of sadness and overwhelm and those pieces of me that wanted nothing more than to not have to deal with that. They fought back sometimes, but I found that when I let myself experience the depth of those emotions, there's so many emotions too with grief. The healing was on the other side. It was straight through it.
Did you process this with your husband?
Yes and no. I think grief is very individual. So would I share what I was experiencing? Of course. Did he experience what I was? I mean, how do you know that? Right? Mm-hmm. In his own way, he was processing different losses and different pieces of grief and some things that I grieved about, he didn't.
I did an interview with Alex, my husband, about, what's it like? And it was I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I just loved it because it was just this moment of just having this beautiful conversation with him. And he does process things differently.
Mm.
And he is a little bit more internal when it comes to processing, and I'm a little bit more external. But I
Mhm.
do think it is important for anyone's listening to, if you do have a partner in this, which some of us don't, and holy wow, my hats go off to any single parent with a child with special needs, and any single parent in general, but extra tricky sometimes with a child with special needs. But if you do have a partner to share this journey with, I think it can make that healing a little quicker. Being
Absolutely.
able to voice it, or a therapist, or looking at hypnosis or anything. There's all sorts of tools that you can use to get through grief if you don't feel like you can get through it on your own.
Absolutely. And I think another piece of that in terms of processing it with a partner is to acknowledge that there may be some blame that's being placed and to work through that. I
Mm.
think that's really important to just acknowledge that sometimes it's looking at you or looking at him or looking at them, I should say, whoever
Mm-hmm.
they are,
Right.
and thinking, where did it come from? And moving through that and understanding that there is no origin necessarily, and it doesn't lie on one person's plate, so to speak.
Yeah.
It just happens.
And yet I think moms tend to put most of that guilt on themselves.
Yeah.
We're the ones who carried them.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? I ask myself that, and not nearly as much as I used to. So for anyone's listening that just got a diagnosis, it does get better. And if you
Yes.
are, yeah, I just, if you're in that process of intense grief, of the what if, of the why me, of the complete utter depression of your life being shattered, the beautiful life that you had expectation for, if it's just been shattered, take a deep breath and know that you can get through this, and there is a community of people to help you. So,
Yes.
yeah. Oof.
Absolutely.
Well, okay. So, grief, healing, acceptance. When I think of the word acceptance, I think of, I am bringing this into my heart and I'm letting it be there with peace. Like I'm owning it. I'm loving it. I'm going to nurture this place now.
Mhm.
Anytime I think of what I have to accept, it's like I really have to accept it into my heart. Because if I accept it into my brain, yeah, that's easy. Like, okay, I see this. I accept this. No problem. But I have to really bring it into my heart and nurture it and love it and pamper it, I guess, a little bit, like give it some lovey doveys. Um, After that, you right, without acceptance, you inhibit your personal progress and you stay stuck.
Yeah.
So how do you get from stuck to gratitude? What's that process for you?
So I
Or
think, well, first, I just want to say a word about acceptance. It doesn't mean that you have to like what you've been given. It just means that you have to be okay with it and not allow it to control how you go forward in your life. The acceptance piece doesn't mean, oh, yay. It just means, okay, this
yeah.
is. And so now let's get on with it. What beautiful thing can I grow from these experiences? Maybe that's not clear initially, and maybe it is. That's a very personal, I think, way of evolving.
Well, I just have to stop you there. It's not oh yay, it's just okay. I love that. I mean, that really is. It's, I don't have to love that
No.
Teal has a special need. I don't have to love that. But
Mm-mm.
I do have to be okay with us moving forward with it. I
Yeah.
hadn't really thought about it that way. Very
Yeah.
cool. So, how do you think you move from that acceptance then into the gratitude? And you talk about the root of joy is gratefulness. It
Yes.
is not joy that makes us grateful, it is gratitude that makes us joyful.
That's
Those are
right.
powerful statements.
Yeah.
Walk me through that a little.
So, what I mean by that, I will just start with telling you what I do that cultivates that within myself, and we can springboard from there. So, each morning when I get up, I read something inspirational and I find a quote and I write that quote on a gratitude list. And then I put 3 things underneath of it that I'm grateful for. And I share that with my children every day. Sometimes I get a response. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get a little heart, the whatever
The
comments
emoji.
you do. Yeah.
Do you ever get rolled eyes?
Yeah.
You have
No, not
teenagers.
usually,
You have
thankfully.
teenagers.
But I'm so sensitive that I think my kids know that if they put a rolled eye emoji, I would be like, oh no.
Teenagers, you never know. I
Yeah,
love this. So do you remember what your quote was this morning?
Oh, what was my quote? Let me tell you. No, already gone. See, isn't that
But
awful?
no,
But
it's
I can
not
read it to
awful. Yeah,
you.
yeah, read it. I love
Let me
this.
see. They're always different, and I love that because it's always where my head is at. My quote this morning was, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life that you've imagined. It's by Thoreau.
Oh. Will you read that quote again?
Sure. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life that you've imagined. It's by Thoreau. And I wrote number 1, my interview with you.
Oh.
Number 2, I have a new creative team working with me on my project, the project Love International.
Yeah.
And number 3 is my birthday dinner tonight.
It's your birthday?
Wednesday.
Oh my gosh, happy birthday.
Wednesday's not a good night to go out, so.
Was it last
We're
Wednesday?
going out tonight.
Hold on, was it last Wednesday?
No, it's just coming.
Okay.
I'm going ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Oh.
You want to hear one more? Because this one's pretty good. It
Yes.
might help, I think, given the context of our
Please.
conversation. Forgiveness is an expression of love, and it's based on acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean that you have to like everything.
Wow.
And that's how I got to the little piece I wrote for you for this. Yeah.
That forgiveness too is huge for each of us listening. Is being gentle and kind, but also finding forgiveness, finding that you would never look at another parent and ever say to that mom, wow, it's your fault. Wow, look at what you created. How bad of a, how horrible should you feel? None of us would ever say that to any mother. So why do we say it to ourselves?
Yeah.
We would never treat anyone else that way.
No.
So forgiving, like giving ourselves the compassion that we would give others, I think creates that opening for forgiveness.
Right. Well, and that's the springboard, the gratitude, the acceptance, the working through the grief. All of these things are the springboard for what got me to unconditional positive regard, often referred to as unconditional love.
Yeah.
So how do you love what is, right? And stand in the middle of all of the challenges that you face in your life every single day. How do you do that? And when you do it, what does it get you? What it gets you is peace and comfort. And what it gives to others is a nurturing environment from which they can really be whoever they are.
Yeah. And that is the ultimate gift of a parent, isn't it? And that's our job. That's our job.
It's not that hard to do.
Shine them up. So when you say it's not that hard to do, for someone listening, what are some outside of, you've already given us some great ideas.
This is it. Yeah. You have it. That's the formula. Let yourself process the shock of what is. Work through the grief. Get to a place of acceptance. These take time. Be grateful for what is so that you can have those joyous moments. This does not mean that they're continuous and all, like, happiness is all relative. Contentment is what you're going for, with hopefully many moments of happiness and a few moments of not such happy, occurrences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom talks about, when I was very young, she realized that I was a very emotional child. Shocker. Yeah. I love my emotion, right? I'm very emotional. Everybody knows that who's listened for more than 30 seconds. So she said to me, Jen, and I may have mentioned this before, but emotion is on a continuum. And you can choose to be really, really happy. But you have to be willing to let the pendulum swing and, go to the other end. Because if you're going to go to an extreme of happiness, it does mean that you have to also allow the other extreme, whether that's anger or sadness or depression. You have to let it swing. You can't just say, I'm going to be really, really happy and then just a little bit sad. Like, it doesn't work that way. Now, you also can choose to just be a little bit happy. And then you're safe, because guess what? You're just a little bit sad. I'm only going to feel just a little bit on this continuum or this pendulum swinging. And it was, she taught me this when I was like 10. And it really allowed me then, in those grief moments, in those heavy, sad moments, to just embrace it and say, yeah, I'm willing to go here emotionally, because I really want my life to be full and beautiful and spontaneous and magical and all of those huge emotional things. But I have to be willing to swing. And now I'm not saying swing uncontrollably. I'm not going bipolar on you. You're none of that. But I think there's some comfort to allowing yourself that sadness, because it allows you to have that complete happiness as well.
Without the sadness, how would you know what the happiness looked like, felt like? How would you know? You need them both.
And that's very empowering for all of us. And to teach our children that too. I think parents are so quick to stop the crying. And I watch other people with my daughter do that. They want to stop the crying. Now there's a difference between hurt crying, right? I'm never going to just let her sit there and hurt cry, right? But sometimes I'm sad cry, I'm depressed, I didn't get what I wanted cry or fuss. It's okay to be there. And we talk about that. I understand that you are frustrated. I understand that you did not get your way. And I understand that that makes you feel sad or whatever the emotion is, or angry. And I don't try to just take it away, because if we take it away, then we bring that pendulum right back to just a little sad, just a little sad. And then we expect our kids to be big happy. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Well, and if you take it away too fast, they don't become resilient. And if you want them to be able to develop a resilience in anything, it has to be part of a process of going through something that's challenging.
Yeah. Because we've all done it.
Right.
We had to learn, nobody gets birthed with resilience or understanding how to process any of that. We have to be taught, or we have to learn. No. And a lot of our parents didn't teach us. I'm very lucky that I had a mom that was very present, and my father too, but I spent more time with my mom. I mean, yeah, she taught me all sorts of tips and tricks that I look back now and I think, oh, how did she understand any of that? But her mom did it for her. We have this beautiful lineage of very intuitive moms, and I'm blessed to be a part of that. But not every parent has that. You started this with, you chose a certain parenting path because of how you were parented.
Right.
Yeah.
And we all do that. All of our behavior comes from what we experienced as children. And that's, the big and small things. It's not, it's the way you respond to a dog. So if you learn a behavior when you're younger,
right,
it carries you through your life unless you consciously turn your awareness to it and acknowledge that I don't want to be afraid of a dog anymore, and work on it. But that's really true about everything. That's a simple example, but it really applies to the way that you interact with any given person. You watched somebody do it that way, probably one of your caregivers, your mother or your father. You learned how to interact in a very specific way towards, different people or different situations, and you carry that on.
So funny as you're talking about that. I literally just said yesterday, I was screaming at our cats. So for whatever reason, our cats have decided that every single one of our wood posts is like the scratch post. So they're ruining them. And I have been screaming at the cats, stop it. And all of a sudden yesterday, I'm like, my daughter is going to realize that the best way to get a reaction and a behavior from a cat is to scream at it. I'm like, I'm going to have to fix this. It's just funny that you brought that up because I was like,
Well,
oh,
I have a dog that pees all over my rugs,
oh
and we have nicknamed her No No.
no, no, we don't do that. No, no,
No, no, no.
no, 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 no. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Oh, yeah. All right. The joys of having pets and children.
Right?
Well, all right. So I'm going to just kind of wrap this into this beautiful bow. But I do want to, after that, I do want you to introduce the Project Love International because I think it's a beautiful program that you're working on. So everything that we talked about up to this point is kind of a mini introduction to what we will be creating in our course.
Right.
I'm so excited. I think people can hear that we're very different, but at the same time, we both bring, I'm just going to give myself a pat on the back. We both bring these beautiful perspectives and different ways of approaching things. And so I encourage everybody to keep their, I don't know, their ears and eyes open to when we actually launch the course, because I'm really excited about the content. It's just really cool. And this is just a little snippet.
I'm excited too. And I
Cool.
can't wait to get further into it and be
Yeah.
able to work with people and just see where it goes. It's
Yeah.
very exciting.
And it'll be very interactive. I don't think anyone would expect me to just come on and lecture. So it'll be a very interactive process with everybody.
It will be, yes, experiential learning.
Perfect.
And, exploring lots of different topics. I think that could be very beneficial for any parent.
Yeah.
But, if you have a special needs child, certainly a lot of good stuff in there and nuggets.
Yeah. Any parent, truthfully. Good point.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me what Project Love International is.
So Project Love International is about sharing stories with each other and connecting over what love is. We all have a different idea. And I just thought it would be really nice to bring people together at a time where people sometimes don't see the commonalities. If we can emphasize how we are the same and how we seek the same things, which to me really boils down to being loved for exactly who you are, just as you are, without exception, that we could make the world a little bit kinder and gentler and loving. The project is going to launch probably late spring. It'll be a social media based kind of opportunity for people to post what love means to them in a short video. There's also an opportunity for you to write a love story and submit it. That could be featured in a weekly kind of blast that I'm creating that will have a quote, it'll have a prompt, and it'll share someone's love story. So it's all good stuff. It's supposed to make you feel good and lift you up and expose you to the different forms of love that are out there and just connect you with other people who may be going through similar things or maybe different, and you can learn something and change your mind.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I could feel your heart vibrating while you were talking about that. That was really neat. Just your whole, everything. Oh, I just got shivers. Yeah. The energy that you just, as you started talking about it, I could just feel it coming through. So yeah.
My heart.
Yeah. It's a heart project. It's a love project.
I'm sharing it with everyone so that they can share it with other people.
Nice. I'm going to write a love letter to all sorts of people. Because there is, like my mom to Teal, my husband, my friends. Yeah. It's a really good practice. And then just send it off to them. Yeah. Handwritten, not just typed. Ooh, I love it. I'm getting all excited. I'm getting all hot and bothered.
Get out some fun colors and put them on there.
Oh my gosh, stickers. Who doesn't want to get a handwritten card with stickers on it? Oh my God. And different colors.
I want sparkles.
Okay, I can do sparkles. Like glue and glitter, I can do it.
Yes,
like that 100%. Just sounds like a mess.
Yeah. But that's the point. It goes everywhere.
Oh, it's like glitter. It goes everywhere. Oh my gosh,
glitter,
that could be your tagline. That could be your tagline.
My tagline is love is everywhere.
That's so cool. Love is everywhere. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you our closing question, which is, what is one word that you would use to describe a child with special needs?
Oh, beautiful, complete.
Perfect. Yeah. Wonderful. Alexis, thank you so much. How can people find you?
My website is my name, which is Alexis McGlynn, hypnotherapy.com. That's probably the best way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
And people can go there, and I'm sure there's a contact button to reach out to you. Wonderful. Yep. Thank you very much for your time today. I'm very excited for our future development and conversations and what you'll be continuing to give our world. So thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go, if you are having a hard time processing some of your emotions, please reach out to someone in your community. You are not alone. You do not have to go through this without support. If you need help, you can go to a local church. You can check if there are grief classes at your local community center. There's access online resources like betterhelp.com. There's 24-hour crisis lines via phone. This is a journey, and you can make it through wherever you are today. So if you need help, please reach out and know that there are brighter days ahead. And finally, on this Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I wanted to end with a quote that I think ties in with what Alexis had to say. Forgiveness is not an occasional act. It is a permanent attitude. Martin Luther King Jr. Today, take that deep breath and give yourself some forgiveness. You are doing the very best that you can. Thank you for being a part of our community. Take care. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found one or two meaningful nuggets of information to make your day better. If you think there's value in what we do, please take a moment to tell another friend, family member, or a caregiver. We'd love to hear from you at forourspecialkids@gmail.com. You can send in a question, a comment, a topic that you'd like to learn more about, or if you'd like us to highlight a certain person, please send that information to us. It makes our show so much better and so much more valuable for you. Our Facebook and Instagram handle is For Our Special Kids. And finally, remember to witness the wonder and the wisdom within yourself and others. Until next time.